Media Fact Checker. Today's Australian news. 5 stories. These are the stories in this video. Timestamps are shown if you would like to skip ahead. Story 1 of 5. Travellers experience and baggage mishap on Cathay Pacific's Brisbane-Hong Kong flight CX150. Travellers experience and baggage mishap on Cathay Pacific's Brisbane-Hong Kong flight CX150. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Cathay Pacific flight CX150 operates on the Brisbane to Hong Kong route with an Airbus A350-900 aircraft. Flight CX150 has a flight time of 8 hours and 50 minutes, departing about 30 minutes behind schedule. Cathay Pacific's checked baggage allowance is 1 piece up to 23 kilograms, with an unofficial extra kilo tolerance. The airline's cabin baggage policy allows 1 piece plus 1 small item up to 7 kilograms in total. The seat layout on the flight is 333, with seat 69C being an aisle seat 18 inches wide and 32 inches of pitch. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two sources, as both articles are identical in content. This story was covered by Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Story 2 of 5. Australia's RBA interest rate hike and Middle East oil crisis impact on markets. Australia's RBA interest rate hike and Middle East oil crisis impact on markets. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The Reserve Bank of Australia, RBA, raised its cash rate to 4.1% on March 26, 2024, marking the second consecutive hike in 2 months, February and March. The RBA's March rate hike was approved by a 5-4 vote, the slimmest majority in a major central bank decision. Brent crude futures jumped 3.3% to $103.45 per barrel on March 26, driven by Middle East tensions and fears over the Strait of Hormuz supply route. Iran launched missile attacks on the United Arab Emirates on March 25, targeting the Fujairah oil export terminal, causing partial halts in oil loading. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point for 20% of global oil and LNG trade, saw reduced UAE oil output by over half due to the conflict. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states the RBA's board agreed borrowing costs should go up but disagreed on timing, while Article 2 does not explicitly mention this internal board disagreement. Article 1 reports Brent crude at $103.45 per barrel with a 3.3% surge, while Article 2 states crude prices fell to about $100 per barrel after Trump's call for Strait of Hormuz protection. Article 1 mentions the Australian dollar clawed back most of its losses after the rate hike, while Article 2 does not provide specific details on the AUD's movement post-hike. This story was covered by ABC News. Story 3 of 5. Suspicious death investigation and knifepoint arrest in Western Victoria. Suspicious death investigation and knifepoint arrest in Western Victoria. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. A man's body was found beside the Henty Highway in Jung, Victoria, around 9 a.m. on Monday, first instance. The victim was believed to be approximately 60 years old but had not been formally identified as of reporting time. Police treated the death as suspicious and involved the homicide squad in the investigation. A 49-year-old man from Minyip was arrested in Firebrace St. Horsham, around 11 p.m. on Monday after a knifepoint standoff. The arrested man was reportedly acting erratically and was taken to hospital for medical attention before being interviewed. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the sources. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Story 4 of 5. Elderly woman dies in Tasmanian boating accident caused by another vessel's wake. Elderly woman dies in Tasmanian boating accident caused by another vessel's wake. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. A woman in her 70s died after being thrown overboard in a boating incident near Marion Bay, Tasmania, on Wednesday at 11:45 a.m. 4 adults were aboard a 4.5-meter fiberglass half-cabin runabout in the Marion Narrows waterway when the incident occurred. 3 of the 4 occupants were thrown into the water due to a wave or chop from another vessel. 2 males were pulled to safety by a nearby vessel, while the third person, the deceased woman, could not be located initially. Police launched a large-scale search and rescue operation after the third person went missing. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states the boat was a 4.5-meter fiberglass half-cabin runabout, while Newscomau only calls it a 4.5m recreational vessel with a fiberglass hull. ABC mentions initial suggestions were that the boat had capsized, which is not referenced in Newscomau. ABC refers to the deceased as in her 70s, while Newscomau describes her as believed to be aged in her 70s. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Story 5 of 5. McLaren's double DNS in F1 Chinese Grand Prix 2026 and race highlights. McLaren's double DNS in F1 Chinese Grand Prix 2026 and race highlights. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Oscar Piastri failed to start the Chinese Grand Prix DNS after being wheeled off the grid minutes before the race, marking his second consecutive DNS in 2026, also missed Australia GP due to crash. McLaren did not start either car in the Chinese Grand Prix due to separate electrical issues in the power units of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, the first time since 2005 that McLaren failed to start both drivers in a race. Lando Norris also failed to start the Chinese Grand Prix due to an electrical issue with his power unit, identified about 1 hour before his grid lap. Kimi Antonelli won the Chinese Grand Prix, marking the first Italian driver victory since Giancarlo Fisichella in Malaysia 2006 and Ferrari's first win since 2008. Lewis Hamilton secured his maiden podium for Ferrari in third place after a 28-race podium drought, surpassing Didier Pironi's record for most races before a Ferrari podium, 26 races. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states McLaren's hopes for a Constructors' Championship three-peat are unlikely, while no other source explicitly discusses this specific hope or its likelihood. The Guardian reports Verstappen's dashboard turning off after a mechanical issue, while ABC does not specify the exact nature of Verstappen's retirement beyond something obviously very wrong mechanically. ABC mentions the 2026 F1 cars regulations focus on energy harvesting, but The Guardian does not explicitly discuss this aspect of the new regulations. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis.